Hi, this is Nancy Buswell, and you are listening to the Listen and Repeat podcast, episode 105. This is To Build a Fire, part 8. This is from the short story by Jack London. Listen and repeat to improve your English intonation and pronunciation. Copy after me. We need to see what's going to happen to this guy. In the last one, he had a nice fire going and was going to get warm, especially get his feet warm because he got them wet. But the fire went out. Snow on the tree branches above him fell down on his fire. And it's extremely cold. He's up by the Yukon River, probably in northwest Canada, possibly in Alaska. I'd have to look at a map. But he's in a place where it's extremely, extremely cold, and his fire just went out, and that's bad news. So let's see what's going to happen in this part. Listen and repeat. Such were his thoughts, but he did not sit and think them. He was busy all the time they were passing through his mind. He made a new foundation for a fire, this time in the open, where no treacherous tree could blot it out. Next, he gathered dry grasses and tiny twigs from the high water flotsam. He could not bring his fingers together to pull them out. But he was able to gather them by the handful. In this way, he got many rotten twigs and bits of green moss that were undesirable. But it was the best he could do. He worked methodically, even collecting an armful of the larger branches to be used later when the fire gathered strength. And all the while the dog sat and watched him. A certain yearning wistfulness in its eyes. For it looked upon him as the fire provider. And the fire was slow in coming. When all was ready, the man reached in his pocket for a second piece of birch bark. He knew the bark was there, and though he could not feel it with his fingers, because his fingers are frozen, just about, he could hear its crisp rustling as he fumbled for it. Try as he would, he could not clutch hold of it. And all the time, in his consciousness, was the knowledge that each instant his feet were freezing. This thought tended to put him in a panic. But he fought against it and kept calm. He pulled on his mittens with his teeth and threshed his arms back and forth, beating his hands with all his might against his sides. He did this sitting down, and he stood up to do it. And all the while the dog sat in the snow. Its wolf brush of a tail curled around warmly over its forefeet. Its sharp wolf ears pricked forward intently as it watched the man. And the man, as he beat and threshed with his arms and hands, felt a great surge of envy as he regarded the creature that was warm and secure in its natural covering. His fur, right? After a time, he was aware of the first faraway signals of sensation in his beaten fingers. The faint tingling grew stronger. Till it evolved into a stinging ache that was excruciating. Very, very painful, but which the man hailed with satisfaction. He stripped the mitten from his right hand and fetched forth the birch bark. The exposed fingers were quickly going numb again. Next, he brought out his bunch of sulfur matches. But the tremendous cold had already driven the life out of his fingers. In his effort to separate one match from the others, the whole bunch fell in the snow. He tried to pick it out of the snow, but failed. The dead fingers could neither touch nor clutch. I say neither, but neither is also correct. I believe the Brits, that is, the British people, say neither. Some Americans say neither. A lot of us say neither. Canadians, Australians, I'm not certain. It might depend what part of those countries they come from. But in the South, where I come from, almost all of us say neither. Also, we say either. Yeah. He was very careful. He drove the thought of his freezing feet and nose and cheeks out of his mind, devoting his whole soul to the matches. He watched, using the sense of vision in place of that of touch. And when he saw his fingers on each side of the bunch, he closed them. That is, he willed to close them, for the wires were drawn and the fingers did not obey. He pulled the mitten on the right hand and beat it fiercely against his knee. Then, with both mittened hands, he scooped the bunch of matches along with much snow into his lap. Yet he was no better off. After some manipulation, he managed to get the bunch between the heels of his mittened hands. In this fashion, he carried it to his mouth. The ice crackled and snapped when, by a violent effort, he opened his mouth. He drew the lower jaw in, curled the upper lip out of the way, and scraped the bunch with his upper teeth in order to separate a match. He succeeded in getting one, which he dropped on his lap. He was no better off. He could not pick it up. Then he devised a way. He picked it up in his teeth and scratched it on his leg. 20 times he scratched before he succeeded in lighting it. As it flamed, he held it with his teeth to the birch bark. But the burning brimstone went up into his nostrils. And into his lungs, causing him to cough spasmodically. And spasmodically is very uncommon, from time, without any control, actually. It's more of a medical word. The match fell into the snow and went out. Okay, that's all for today. Poor guy. He's trying so hard to light that fire, and he's so cold. Good luck to him. Well, I hope you are warm and cozy wherever you are. I thank you for listening. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you have a good day.